saying phones off, Shabir? Are we saying phones to silent?
Shabir Fazal.
Shabir
Fazal.
You've got a record then, haven't you? Cameron's going to be okay, good evening, Assalamu alaikum everybody, welcome.
Wa alaikum salam.
So, this is both a bit of a launch of our campaign, a bit late, second launch. We had a pre-launch last week. But it's also a session to drum up some support for volunteers, which is probably the most important thing that we're going to do today. It's an opportunity for you to meet with me and meet with each other. It's an opportunity to ask questions, so that if you're going to help me out and about and you're going to be asked questions, you've got a good idea of the sorts of responses that as Green Party candidates and Green Party representatives we want to be giving. So the campaign that we've started, we are running a straightforward positive campaign. So we're not about bashing the other candidates. To be honest, I don't know enough about them to bash them. Most of them are non-entities and they've turned up into town from nowhere and I'm not expecting much opposition from them. But what I'm expecting is that people who have always voted Labour, we have to do a really good job to make them change their mind and do something different for the first time. People have always voted Tory. We have to do something special to make them change their mind and to see that there is a better way. And one of the things that's happened in British politics is that people have been hammered year in, year out, and they've given up hope. They've lost hope. And what you'll see when you're out with me is people say, they're all the same. I hear that so often, it's frightening. They say, what's the point of voting? There's no difference between them. And we have to convince them that we are different. And we are different. The only reason I'm standing is because when I was talking to people about not voting Labour, not voting Tory, they were saying, well, what's the option? So I promised them at that point, which is back in November, that I would give them an option. And in the absence of any other options, I came forward myself to make sure that that option was available. Now, we're being told that we can't win. Those of you who've been on this journey with me since November will know that that's exactly what we were told in the local elections, and we smashed it out of the park in the local elections, where I got more votes in Central than most of the other parties put together. Not because of me, but because people have had enough of those parties and they want a genuine change. They don't want a change of face, they want a change of direction. They want a change of policy. They want a change of ambition. They want real change. They want someone who's going to come in and fight for ordinary people. We've got this charade going on nationally where you've got two parties, both of whom are identical. If you look below the surface and you look at their policies, the Labour Party have said we're going to stick to all the Tory party spending plans. What does that mean? It means they can't do anything on poverty. They can't do anything on the National Health Service. They can't do anything on social care. They can't do anything about our crumbling schools. They can't give any more money to children with special needs who are really struggling to get provision. They can't do anything to fix our roads because there's no money for it. And the Labour Party have said, we are not going to do anything different from the Tories. So the point is, what's the point of voting for you if you're not going to do anything different? And they seem to be saying that the main difference is that we are going to do the same thing the Tories are going to do, but we're going to do it in a more competent way. That seems to be the message. No ambition, no change of direction, no new policies. Same old stuff that's been tried for 14 years has led us down for 14 years. Okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of that stuff in more detail in a minute. But what I do want from today is we also want your views and ideas. Because I'm new to this, so I joined a political party for the first time in my life last November. Prior to that, I've always been in education. I know all about education. I've been a head teacher and assistant director. Every position you name it in education, I've held it. But I've never been involved in politics because I wasn't interested in party politics. I won't say I wasn't interested in politics, because when you say you don't do politics, that means you don't do the National Health Service. You don't do education. You don't do poor people. You don't do youth clubs. That's what it means when you say I don't do politics. So anybody that says I don't do politics, you need to ask them some questions about what matters to you. And I'll guarantee that the things that matter to them are things which politicians, good politicians, can fix. So we don't say we don't do politics. We do a different sort of politics. We do problem-solving politics. We do solution-oriented politics. We do politics which is for the many, not for the rich and the famous. That's the difference. That's why we are here today with the Green Party. Because the Green Party is the party of ordinary people. The party that is thinking about us, about our old age pensioners, about our children, about the next generation, about the planet. It's a party that cares about things that matter. It's not a party that takes donations from millionaires and billionaires. It's not a party that takes donations from the arms industry and from the oil industry. So that's the difference. That's one of the reasons the Green Party hasn't got any money. It's not because they're not being offered, it's because they refuse to take the money from people whose business is unethical. They turn it away. They had a donation, a £500,000 donation, but when they researched that person, their investments and their overseas tax havens meant that that was money that the Green Party wasn't prepared to accept, and they gave it back. They said, we don't want this money, we'd rather be poor than have money that goes against our principles. So we're a principled party, and that's really important. Okay, so in terms of structurally, we've got a small team. We've got Wayne and Zaid, who are going to take over the day-to-day management of the campaign. We've got Paddy, who is and was the original campaign manager, and he does all the materials that you've seen. All these have been done, but he's done a fantastic job. He's on his way, he'll be here soon. We've got Joan, who's my agent, who does all the paperwork, makes sure that everything we do is legal. She keeps account of all the money that we're spending, because there's rules about what we can spend. Not that we've got much money, but the bit that we have got, she's keeping tabs on it. And she's keeping me on the straight and narrow so I don't do something that's going to get me into trouble. Okay, we've got Lex, who might be online somewhere. She's done a magnificent job with the social media campaign, and there's a lot of stuff going on Facebook. If you're not a member of the Green Party Hindman Facebook page, please join. And then the stuff that's on there, I need you guys then to share it with your own networks, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever you're on. Let's get it out there. We need to get the Green Party very visible. And then we've got Cammy, who at the back, who's from Haslingden. He's leading the campaign for me in Haslingden. He's doing a really good job. He stood as a councillor himself in the local elections, did really well. So we've got a good team developing, and then we've got all of you. All of you are part of this team, and each of you need to take whatever part you can take. And that might be on social media, that might be out on the streets with us, that might be putting posters up in your windows, it might be giving posters to businesses that you know, it might be fundraising. Whatever it is, everybody's got a part to play, and it's only through that teamwork that we're actually going to get anywhere. We're up against it. We need to get, it's on one of these slides, we need to get around about 15,000 votes. Now I'm confident that that's doable, because there's a lot more than 15,000 people out there who are really cheesed off, who don't believe a word that comes out of the mouths of Rishi Sunak or Keir Starmer, our job is to get those people to vote, because a lot of them don't vote. And that's the reason that parties that support the rich and famous win year in, year out, because ordinary people don't vote. And if you look at the turnout at the local elections, in my ward, which had the highest turnout, the turnout was 49%. That means more than half the people didn't vote. In Peel Ward, up Avenue Parade, that way, the turnout was 22%. Just think about that. Only one person out of every 5 voted. 4 people didn't even turn up. So that's what we're fighting against. We have to get our people to go out and vote. Every single one. And if every single person that we know is on our side votes, then I will win. I'm confident. But they have to turn up on the 4th of July. Every single one. And you need to check in your own friends and your family that are all registered. You've got till midnight today. It takes 3 minutes online to register to vote. It literally takes 3 minutes. All you need is your personal details and your national insurance number, and you're done. It's very quick. So, now, some people said we're here to make up the numbers. Those of you that know me, you know that I don't do making up the numbers. I don't get involved unless I believe we can do something special. Yeah? I'm very, very competitive in that way. I believe that if you go into something, then you should go into it wholeheartedly, and you should play to win, not play to come second. Yeah, you should play to win. So we're in it, and we want to do well, and I believe that we can do well. Okay. And more important than that, as a person of faith, my faith says that what matters is that your intentions are sincere and that you've given it 100%. That's it. The rest is not up to you. We believe that the results come from the Almighty. Okay? My job is to do the best I can. And each of us in life, that should be our driving goal. That we do the best we can, and then what will happen, it'll happen. So we don't want to end up on the 4th of July saying, I wish we'd done that, I wish we'd done that. We want to make sure that by the 4th of July, every good idea that I've got and every good idea you've got, we've implemented. And we've implemented it to a decent standard. Okay. So, what's the key message from today? The key message is we want maximum visibility. I want to know that everywhere I go and everywhere you go, you will see a Green Party poster. You will see a Green Party leaflet. You will see somebody wearing a rosette saying, vote Green Party. We don't want to be the party where people said, if I'd have known about you, I'd have voted for you. Okay? So we want to make sure that everybody knows about us. And that's through word of mouth, it's through WhatsApp, it's through social media, it's through getting out on the streets, it's through families, it's through friends, it's through anything and everything you can do to make sure that each of us gets to 50, 100, 200 people. And if we all do that, then we will do well. So maximum visibility, it's really important that you don't underestimate the power of what you can do as an individual. Yeah, we can all do something. And we might win by 1 vote. And that might be the one person that you put in touch with the Green Party. That could be the one person that made the difference. So every vote counts, every person counts, and we need to make sure that on the 4th of July, every single person turns up to vote. So you've got these on these slides. There's a QR code there if you want to join. Also today, we're going to be collecting the names of any business owners who are willing to put their name to a letter. So I'm going to write a letter from you saying, we, the undersigned businesses, are supporting Shabir because he's a good guy, because he's reliable, he's honest. Yeah, he does what he says he's going to do. He's trustworthy. So if you're a business owner and you're prepared to put your name to that, then come and see us at the end. And all of you will be receiving a Green Party leaflet through the post. It's taken forever because this is a scheme run by the Royal Mail, and like everything else with the Royal Mail, it takes a long time. And to be fair to them, It's a scheme that they've offered to every party in every constituency. So if you imagine 10 parties in 6,500 constituencies, that's 6,500 candidates times 100,000 leaflets. That's a lot of mail. But you'll get that through the post. I was told yesterday that Monday the 24th is the point at which that's going to get to the Royal Mail. So hopefully after 24th, sometimes Tuesday, Wednesday, that should be coming through the post. And then we will do one more mailing just before the election as a final reminder. Okay. So watch this space for that. Now, the other thing is, we've tried to put together a bit of a plan. Wayne's called it 3 weeks. It's 3 blocks of time. So we've got this, the rest of this week, Thursday to Sunday. And part of what we want to do, going back to what I said before, is we need to be visible in each area. So I got somebody on Facebook saying, I haven't seen you in my area. I'd love to see you in my area. So we're going to try and make sure we get to every area of Hindburn and Hasley, even if it's only for a half an hour walkabout in the town centre, so that people see us. Anybody that wants to ask me questions can ask me questions. We've got a good story to tell, but we need an audience for that story. It's no good just telling the story to people who've already heard it. You've got to tell the story to a new audience, people who haven't heard it yet. And I know that when they hear that story, when they hear about what the Green Party is offering, then that's something they'll take on board and they'll want to vote for us. But we need to get out there. Okay? We've already been out and about, putting posters up on some shops. But if you know people who either have a business or you've got a property yourself which is on a main thoroughfare, on a main road where lots of people pass, and you want some posters, we've got all the posters there. Just come and see us, take whatever you need. We'll get some more if we need them. But like I said before, we need maximum visibility. We need to be out there. And people need to see Green Party posters everywhere they go. And already it's happening. You know, people are seeing it. You go past Joan's house, she's got it all on brush handles and all sorts of things outside. It looks great. And that's what we want from everybody. You know, it's great. And it says target key voters. It's an interesting phrase, target key voters. Who are key voters? Well, our key voters are those people who are desperate for change. And that's 90% of the electorate. People who want something different. They've had 14 years of Tory government. They've seen the NHS being trashed. They've seen our schools crumbling. They've seen our special needs kids not being able to get the support they need. They've seen our pensioners die in old people's homes during COVID because of the mismanagement of our government, the deliberate mismanagement of our government. That's probably the most shameful thing that's happened in our country for a long time. Yeah? They've seen our roads falling to pieces. So they are desperate for change. They've seen the cost of living go through the roof. They've seen their gas bills go up 400%. And people saying, well, it's to do with the war in Ukraine. And the question I ask them when they say it's to do with the war in Ukraine is, if it's to do with the war in Ukraine, how come the gas companies are making tens of billions of pounds of profit? If the money is to offset the extra cost from Ukraine, how are the gas companies making tens of billions of pounds in extra profit? They're making so much money they don't know what to do with it. They don't know where to invest it. But still our bills are going up. That money isn't being used to bring our bills down, it's being used to make their investors richer. The same with the water companies. We're seeing the water companies pumping millions of gallons of raw sewage into our rivers and into the sea. And when they're asked why they're doing that, they're saying the system can't cope. And you say, well, fix the system. No, it takes investment. We want you. We want you to pay even more so that we can fix the leaky pipes. And when you say, yeah, but you've just given £10 billion out to your shareholders. You've just given out £10 billion to your shareholders. Why did you not invest that money? And they have no answer. And the reason they have no answer is, that's their job. Their job is to make money for their investors. Their job is not to look after the rivers. Their job is not to look after us. Their job is to make money for investors. That's what it means when you privatise something. So when the Labour and the Tory party privatised water, they did it so that rich people could get richer. They didn't do it to improve your service. When they privatised gas, they did it so that rich people could make money from you, from your heating, because we live in a cold country. Same with electric, same with the railways. In every single case, privatisation has made the service worse and it's made it more expensive. But they haven't learnt the lesson. So what are they doing now? Now they want to privatise the National Health Service. They don't want to admit it, but Wes Streeting, who is going to be the National Health Secretary when Labour win, and sadly they're going to win the election, not going to win in Ireland, but they're going to win the national election. Wes Streeting went live on television and he said, I don't have a problem with more private sector work in the health service. This is the person who's going to be the Labour Health Secretary. So they are privatising the National Health Service. The National Health Service is the jewel in our crown. It's the best thing this country's ever created. It's something that the whole world looks up to. And even today, with all its faults, and it's got lots of faults, it's still the most efficient health service in the world. And they want to make us more like America. In America, they've got a health insurance system. And there are 65 million people. That's the same as the population of our country. 65 million people who can't afford health insurance. In America, the richest country in the world, has got 65 million people who can't afford health insurance. What can be a bigger disgrace than the richest country in the world having 65 million people who can't afford health insurance? That's a real disgrace. And that's what our politicians want. That's what they want to bring here. That's their dream. Their dream is to destroy the National Health Service and replace it with a private health service, an insurance-based health service where those that can afford it get first-class care and those that can't afford it, well, that's their tough luck. They should work harder. That's their mentality. Yeah, that's how they think. Okay. So first week, we're going to go out, visibility. Second week, we're going to start targeting more on individual people that we know on main roads and streets. I've got some interviews. I've got an interview on Monday with Radio, whatever it is, Radio Lancashire, I think it is. And there's a hustings, business hustings on the 28th. There'll be other things. So I'm going to be out there trying to get this message out that we're here and we're serious and we're going to win. But I also need you guys out there doing the same thing. And part of today is about making sure you've got the messages so that you know what we stand for. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, just so that you've got that. So these are the areas we're going to be in. I'm not going to go through them. You can see them on the list. If you're free on any of those areas, we'll put them on the Facebook group. We'll put them on the WhatsApp group so you can see them at your leisure. You won't remember them from here. Then just let us know and come and join us. The more people we can get out there, the more visible we're going to be. My intention is that each time we go out, we must have at least a dozen people to be visible, with placards, with posters, with things for people to see. Okay, so there's that. On the day, we're all going to be out and about. We're going to be out and about, making sure that we try and make sure everybody we know, everybody whose promises they're going to vote, they turn up to vote. Because on election day, inevitably, a lot of people don't turn up. And before election day, actually this week, people who've got postal votes, and you won't believe the number of people who've got postal votes, they need to get those postal votes in. When I say you won't believe it, just in Central Ward, just in the ward where I won, there were 900 people with postal votes. Just in Central. And I only got 818 votes. There were 900 people with postal votes. So if you scale that up across 16 wards in Hindburn, that's about 15,000, roughly. And then you've got 3 wards in Haslington. So between us, we've got somewhere approaching 18,000 postal votes. So long before 4th of July, up to 18,000 people could have already voted. We could have already won. We can get all those people with postal votes to vote for me. Before 4th of July, I could have already won. So it's really important that if there are members of your family, friends who've got postal votes, you get in there and say, okay, you need to get this in now. Don't forget about it. Put your cross next to the Green Party and get it in. I can't take those, neither can Wayne, neither can Tanny, neither can Zaid. We can't take those votes off those people. They've got to fill them in themselves and they've got to post them. But you can encourage them. So get them encouraged and make sure they take advantage of that postal vote. And those are coming out, who knows when? I think it's today. I think it's today. Okay. And then on the day, we'll have people scattered around all the polling stations. And again, if you're free and you want to give us a couple of hours, be one of our tellers. All we need you to do is stand outside with the Green Party banner, just reminding people. You're not allowed to tell them, go in and vote. But if they see you there with a Green Party poster, it'll trigger the thought. Yeah, this is the party we want to vote for. Okay. So Joan has got an email address for everyone who is a member of the Green Party. So if you joined, then you'll get information from Joan. If you haven't joined, it literally takes 3 or 4 minutes. And you can join for as little as £6 for the year. If you're hard up, the Green Party is very democratic like that. Unlike the other parties, even though they haven't got any money, they try and live with what you've got. So if all you can afford is £6 for the year, you can join for £6. If you're a student and you haven't got any money, and most students haven't got any money, they rely on their parents, as I know. I've never grew out of that. But for £6, the normal joining fee is £5 a month. And if you're a bit better off, you can pay up to £20 a month. So it depends on what you can afford. So £6, £13, these are annual, or £5 a month or £20 a month. And whichever option you take, this is the Green Party, it's a very fair party. Whichever option you take, you get the same voting rights. You don't get better voting rights or more important voting rights if you pay £20 a month. You get the same as the person who pays £6. Why? Because we're a democratic party. And all our decisions are made one member, one vote. There's no Keir Starmer says, I don't like you, you leave the party. There's none of that in the Green Party. Yeah, one member, one vote. You go to conference, you put forward a motion, we want to support Palestine. You have a vote, the majority says yes, the Green Party supports Palestine. That's how it works. It's literally what a proper party is meant to do. Unfortunately, the other parties have become completely autocratic, completely dictatorial. Yeah? Keir Starmer is kicking people out, left, right and centre. There's a lady called Fazal Shaheen. She got kicked out. She's an MP candidate. She's been campaigning for the Labour Party for 4 years against Alan Duncan Smith. She had a chance to win, but she liked a tweet that Keir Starmer didn't approve of. She was out. They didn't even have the decency to ring her up or to call her into an office and say, we don't like what you've said. She got an email saying, you are no longer the candidate for the Labour Party. Goodbye. That's how they treat people in that party. That's why I say when people want something different, that's what we want different. We don't want that. We want proper democracy. We want people who respect other people's views. And if you've got a different view, then you have a debate and see what the issue is. What you don't say is, I'm right, you're wrong, bugger off. Yeah? That's literally what's happening at the moment in both the main parties. They're literally sending an email saying you are no longer part of our party, get lost. And, you know, the Labour Party has just kicked out Jeremy Corbyn, who's been an MP for the Labour Party for 42 years and a former leader. They've said, you can't stand for our party, and they've kicked him out of the party. Literally. So this is what's happening. We've got a digital strategy. If you're not on, as I said, if you're not on the Facebook page, please get on it. Just type in Green Party Hind when it comes up and just press follow, and then you'll be a member. And then you'll see everything that we're putting up. There's a lot of good stuff on there. There's some videos we're boosting. You can pay a small amount, I think it's £10 a day, and the video goes to more people. That's it. It's very simple. So we're boosting some of those to try and get our message out there. Cammy, who's a bit of a whiz, much better than me on the video, is going to help me make my videos less boring and more interesting. Okay?
I'm going to try.
Take it. What can I say?
It's a big ass.
There's a lot of stuff going out. A lot of key messages. And again, if there's something we're not saying that you want to say, then come and talk to us. Like I said, we don't imagine for 1 minute that we've got all the answers. We are a democratic party, and if you've got better ideas, then we want to hear them. And I don't care who it is that's got the better idea. What we're interested in is the ideas, so that we can make things better. Now, there's one group on there that we really need to get to. And they're the reason I think that I won. Well, there's two groups I think I won in Central Ward. One was the young people who they don't listen to the lies on the BBC, on Sky, on GB News. They get their news direct through social media. So they're getting messages that everybody else is not getting. And they came out in big numbers for us. And we need to carry on getting those young people. And we are fighting for their future. Literally for their future. So we need them on. And the other party that we got to was the ladies in the audience. You know, a lot of ladies, especially Muslim ladies, who haven't been, they haven't been coming out to vote. But they came out in big numbers in May. And they were the two big differences and the two big reasons why I won so comfortably in May. Because they came out in force. And they made their voices heard. And part of my message is that not voting and saying it's all the same guarantees that you'll get more of the same. We need to get that message out that if you don't vote, that's a vote for Labour. If you don't vote, that's a vote for the Tories. Yeah? The only way you get something different is by turning up on the day. And that's a really important message, because so many people who say, well, it's all the same. And of course, if you don't vote, then that's exactly what it'll be. It'll be more of the same. So we have to get people to turn up. Okay, so we've got that. So we've got a list of things there. We really need to get stuck into this campaign. This is the start of the Green Party in Hindman. What we want is the Green Party to be the main party in Hindman going forward. We want to be the go-to party for anybody that wants to improve Hindman. Because that's why we're here. We want to make it a better place. A better place to live, a better place to work, a better place to do business, a better place for our children to grow up, a better place for our children to be safe on the streets, a better place for our children to be fit and healthy. All of those things are within our power. Just by organising better and making sure that whatever policies go through the council, they are policies which are in the interest of the people of Hindman, not in the interest of some rich person who's given money to the Labour Party or to the Tory Party. And they've got big donors. I was saying to somebody the other day that Gary Lubner, whose family made their money from apartheid South Africa, recently gave a £5 million donation to the Labour Party. Another guy who made racist comments about Diane Abbott, who's the first black MP, a lovely woman, spent her whole life trying to improve her community. He made racist comments about her. He made a £10 million donation to the Tory Party. And when people said to the Tory Party, look, this guy just made racist statements about a member of Parliament, you should give your money back. You can imagine what the response was. Well, they haven't given their money back. And I read last week that they've taken another £150,000 off that same guy, which is a real disgrace. To take money from a known racist, someone who's made racist comments in the public domain, is a disgrace. And that's who they are. Okay.
Was
today it was the Green Party.
This is a manifesto.
This manifesto with co-leaders Carla Denia and Adrian Ramsey pledging to mend broken Britain. It features some very expensive pledges like spending an extra £50 billion a year on health and social care by 2030. They want to scrap tuition fees and the two-child limit for child benefit, create 150,000 new social homes every year, and introduce rent controls. Their green economic transition plan includes £29 billion to insulate homes. They'd stop all new fossil fuel projects and take water companies, railways and the big five energy firms into public ownership. And they pay for all this with a carbon tax on fossil fuels, an 8% national insurance rate on income over the upper earnings limit, and a 1% wealth tax for assets over £10 million, and 2% for more than £1 billion.
Okay, so you saw some of the headlines there. Now, when it's in the papers, it's interesting whether the papers report this. So one of the papers just said, Green Party are going to increase taxes. That was it. What that slide said is they're going to increase the tax on people who've got £10 million or more. Is that the same as they're going to increase taxes? It's a nonsense. But that's what we're up against. That's why I said I don't watch the BBC anymore. Because they deliberately misrepresent the smaller parties because they are the media of the establishment. So how many people here have got assets of more than 10 million quid? Come on, own up. There you go. He's going to pay more. Okay? I could work another 50 years and I won't get within 10% of that. Okay. So let's just quickly go through the policies because some of you will be asked about this. So what are they going to do on education? I'm from education. Okay? So they're advocating free meals for all children. As a head teacher, I used to stand in the dining hall. I used to do duties every single day. And I would see kids who couldn't afford to buy a meal and they weren't on preschool meals. So they used to look at the other kids and then they sat there and they've got a packet of crisps and a drink. That's what their mum sent them to school with for their lunch. That's a disgrace. And as a rich country, I can't believe that we can't give one decent meal to every child in the country once a day. It's a national disgrace. And if you remember, Rashford, Manchester United footballer, he argued tooth and nail for free school meals during the holidays for children who are already on preschool meals. And even that, he had to battle against the ministers to get that through. And there was a national campaign and millions of people before they finally relented and said, okay, we'll give in. So that's one of the pledges for the Green Party, free school meals for all children. Tuition fees. Now, I went to university. I come from a poor family. And all my tuition fees were paid for by the government. I got a grant so I could afford to survive at university.
Me too.
And since then, I've been a teacher, a head teacher for 37 years. I calculated, somebody asked me once, how much tax have you paid? I calculated that I've paid somewhere in the region of between 400,000 and £500,000 in taxes in my 37 years. That's pretty good investment, isn't it? You pay for my university education and I pay back £500,000. That's a good rate of return, isn't it? And that's what it's like. So this isn't a gift. This is an investment in our children's future. But they'll tell you we can't afford it. The Labour Party, that was in their manifesto in 2019. Keir Starmer said, we're not doing that. I'm in charge. There is no Labour Party. There's Keir Starmer's party. We're not ending tuition fees. The Liberal Democrats, they're in our town as well. That was their manifesto pledge. And then when they went into a joint government, they went into government. Nick Clegg became the Deputy Prime Minister. Guess what they did? They scrapped the idea of ending tuition fees. And that's why they suddenly, everybody who voted Lib Dems was betrayed, and they said, we're not having this lot again, because they tell lies. And that's what politicians do, unfortunately. They tell lies. So when they got into power, their partner said, you can get into power with us. but we ain't trapping tuition fees. So the Green Party, no tuition fees. Everybody wants to go to university, they go to university. It's an investment. Scrap Ofsted. I've been through 5 Ofsted inspections, very stressful. I've done well. I should be somebody who says, yeah, Ofsted is good, but it's not good. Ofsted destroys people.
Yeah.
Ruth Parry, a brilliant head teacher, primary school head teacher, had kept her school amongst one of the best schools in the country in her area. Ofsted came in and for some reason they decided that school was no good anymore. And they told her, your school is rubbish. Oh, and by the way, you're not allowed to tell anybody for another 6 weeks while we go through this process. That head teacher committed suicide. She took her own life because of Ofsted. Is that what it's for? Is that the idea of Ofsted? To ruin people's lives? It's meant to improve schools. It doesn't improve schools. How can you judge a whole school? It's got 1,000 kids, it's got 100 teachers, it teaches 14 different subjects, it teaches children skills for life, it teaches them about physical education, about health education, it teaches them everything, and you judge it down to one word. It's either outstanding, it's good, it's okay, or it's a failure. How would you feel if somebody came into your family and said, I'm going to judge your family, and at the end of it, I'm just going to say one thing, this is a good family, this is a bad family. It's a ridiculous notion, but that's the notion we've got. So Ofsted, we're going to scrap Ofsted. Early years and special needs, Cinderella services. If you've got a child with special needs, you'll know that you have to fight tooth and nail to get any sort of extra provision. You really have to be very, very dedicated. And you have to fight tooth and nail. So the Green Party has promised that if it gets into a position where it can affect what happens, then it will put more money into special needs, so there's better provision, and there's more of that provision. And children's youth clubs and sports. Those of you who work with children, you'll know there's an obesity epidemic. Our children are grossly overweight, they don't do anywhere near enough physical activity, and because of that, illnesses that were related to old people in the olden days, now children have got those illnesses. Diabetes, all sorts of asthmas, all sorts of trouble with their lungs, all sorts of trouble with their hearts. Some of them have no coordination. I used to do a bit of coaching up at Enfield Cricket Club. And they said, go and coach these kids. And I went there, there's about 5 or 6 of them, and I threw a tennis ball to one kid underarm, and he went, and I thought, hello, what have you been doing? The kid didn't have enough coordination just to put his hand up and catch the ball. He was frightened of it. So we need more money for youth clubs, for sports, for boxing gyms, for sport, whatever. We need the kids to be out there playing and doing physical activity and improving their health, improving their fitness. Okay, healthcare. We talked about health service. You saw in that video. The Green Party is proposing a £30 billion investment in the National Health Service. And it needs 30 billion. Probably needs more than 30 billion. Because the need for healthcare has skyrocketed. We're living longer, we've got more lifestyle diseases, we're eating worse, we don't do exercise, there's more children surviving because of better healthcare, advances in science. All these are good things, but it costs more money. So the demand in the health service has gone through the roof, but they haven't kept up with it in investment because they don't want to invest. So healthcare, really important. Linked to healthcare is social care. So if you remember during COVID, they said no hospital beds. Why was that? Because when the people got better, they were supposed to leave and go into a social care setting. But there was no social care setting because that was full. So those people had nowhere to go. So you had a traffic jam in the hospital where there were people waiting to get into a bed, but the beds were occupied because there was nowhere for these people to go somewhere else. So one of the long-standing problems in this country is that social care has always been underfunded. It's always been underfunded. Because who cares about social care? Rich people don't need social care. Billionaires don't need social care. They can afford to buy their own care home. and care for their own elderly people and make some profit out of it at the same time. It's a win-win. It's ordinary people who need an investment in social care. Ordinary people who have to choose between looking after their elderly parents or making a living. It's a tough choice. It's a tough choice for people to make. And it's a wrong choice. They shouldn't have to make those sorts of choices. Social care should be there for everybody. And we need more GPs. We keep talking about the crisis in A&E. You go to A&E and the maximum wait you're supposed to have is 4 hours. You know? More than half the people that go there, they're waiting for 6, 7, 8 hours. About 20% of them are waiting for more than 12 hours. Some people are waiting overnight in A&E on a stretcher. What a disgrace in one of the richest countries in the world, that people, and when do you go to A&E? The clue's in the title, accident and emergency. You go there when you've had an accident or you've got an emergency. So if you had an accident or an emergency, can you afford to wait 12 hours? Can you, bugger it? You need to be scorned. You need to be seen. Like now. Yeah? You want to walk in and there should be a doctor waiting to see you, a nurse waiting to see you. The government's ambition is that you should be seen within 4 hours. What sort of ambition is that? You go to an accident and emergency where you've had an accident, you've had an emergency, and somebody says sit there for 4 hours and bleed while we find someone to see you. Is that the sort of country we want to live in? Not the sort of country I want to live in. So, we don't have that ambition. Palestine. Now, a lot of people are badging this as a religious issue. It's got nothing to do with religion. Palestine is an issue of humanity. You are literally seeing, children being blown to smithereens in front of our eyes, live, day in, day out. It's been going on for 8 months. And for some of our politicians, even today, when at least 40,000 people have been killed, amongst them 16,000 children, even that isn't enough for them to say we need a ceasefire. Can you imagine that? 16,000 children have been murdered, massacred, and even today, some of our politicians are still not calling for a ceasefire. Some of our politicians are still not demanding an end to arms sales to Israel. Since October, our government has signed 108 new licenses for arms sales to Israel. Our government, the British government. Yeah? So we are complicit. Our country is complicit in the genocide, in the war crimes, in the crimes against humanity, in the apartheid, in the murder of children, the destruction of hospitals, the bombing of schools, the bombing of churches and mosques. All of that is happening with our money, with our weapons. We are complicit in that, and it's really sad. And then the cost of living crisis, I've talked before, our cost of living has gone through the roof. They keep saying it's outside our control. But it's not outside our control. No. It's happened because we privatised water, gas, electric, railways. It's happened because we let it happen. We found hundreds of billions of pounds to give to the bankers during the banking crisis. We found tens of billions of pounds for the war in Ukraine. So we can find money for wars. We can find money for bankers. We can find money for COVID. But can we find money to help ordinary people with the cost of living? No, we cannot. Why? Because it would involve the rich and the famous paying a bit more tax. And our politicians are not prepared to do that. They're not prepared to ask millionaires and billionaires to pay a bit more. That's the reason. It's a choice. They keep telling they've got no choices. They've got lots of choices. But their choices they don't want to make. Because those people give money to the Labour Party, they give money to the Tory Party, and if you make them pay more tax, they might give you less money. That's what it comes down to. It's a very simple, a very cynical equation. Okay, I've spoken for about half an hour longer than I should have done. I hope you've got a good idea of what it is that we're trying to do. The reason is that there are very important things that me and you need to say out there. That's why I'm talking so much. There are important things that you need to say, and they need to be said. And I won't be able to meet everybody. You will meet some of those people on your own. So you need to know what those messages are. And you need not to be apologetic about those messages. They need to be front and centre. You need to feel confident to say, this isn't good enough. Yeah, we can do better than this. We're a better country than this. We don't have to be complicit in war crimes. We don't have to have 8-hour waits in accident and emergency. We don't have to have schools which are literally crumbling around people's ears. We don't have to have hospitals where the doctors are passing out because they've been on duty non-stop for 18 hours. That isn't fair. And what I'd say to you lastly is about the cynicism of politicians. And we need to challenge this. Our politicians stood with us in COVID and they clapped. Well, let's all clap for our nurses. And 6 months later, they were saying these nurses are greedy. They're asking for a pay rise. How dare they ask for a pay rise when we know the country hasn't got any money? The same people. Yeah. 1 minute they're clapping, the next minute saying, no, these are greedy nurses. So, yeah, these greedy nurses are queuing up at the food bank because they can't afford to feed their family. That's how greedy they are. And the statistic that I've not put on there, the number of food banks has gone up from 250 in 2010 to 26,000 today. Just try and get your head around that. The number of food banks in this country has gone up from 250 to 26,000. And that's just the official one. That doesn't count like I had a food bank in my school. Ever since we opened, the first day we opened, the first thing we did, we opened a food bank. And the kids brought in stuff, and then we handed them out every Friday. We handed the food banks out. Okay? They're not counted in the 26,000. These are official food banks. Again, I have to ask you, what sort of country are we living in where the number of food banks has to go up from 250 to 26,000? What's happening in our society that we need 26,000 food banks? And they're all full. There's lines at some of these. You go into the big cities, there's queues of people waiting outside the food bank before it opens. And these are not just the homeless people on the streets. We've got too many of them as well. But these are ordinary people like me and you who have no choice to put their dignity to one side and go and queue up at a food bank because that's the only way that they can make ends meet. It's a sad state of affairs. And we can do better. And the Green Party will do better. That's why we're here. We're here to make a difference. We're here to bring about real change. Not a change of face from Rishi Sunak to Keir Starmer. You know, from a dark blue suit to a light blue suit. That isn't the sort of change we're talking about. Yeah? We're not talking about changing from a hard Zionist to a slightly less hard Zionist. We're not talking about changing from a billionaire to a multimillionaire. We're not talking about someone who hates ordinary people to someone who dislikes them. Yeah? These are the choices you've been given. We're talking about moving to people who really care about ordinary people, who want to make life better for ordinary people, who want to save the future for our children. So that's why we're here. We're going to have a bit of a Q&A in a minute, but thank you for listening. Thank you for your patience. It's gone on a long time. I hope that's been useful. Thank you very much. Okay, so who wants to get the ball rolling? Either questions about what I've said, questions about the campaign, questions about how you can help, whatever you want to ask. We'll start there.
Hi. When you said about the school dinners, and that we've got loads of obese kids, we should bring back the dinner ladies that we had, make proper meals and re-educate kids on proper food, not this junk that they give them now, pizza with smiley faces or that kind of rubbish and a bit of salad. they need, you know, meat and veg, or fish and veg, or a cutlet and veg and taters. They need educating in school, you know, before they become adults eating more rubbish.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we've got, I used to work in schools, and schools already have something called National Nutritional Standards for school dinners. So they work with very specific guidelines. The issue is not what the kids are eating in school. The issue is what they're eating on the way to school, at break time, after school, on the way home, and sometimes, because the takeaways are cheap, the parents feed them takeaway. So the issue isn't really about school meals. And for many children, the school meal is the only meal they get, proper meal, the only cooked meal they get. But I take your point, there is an obesity epidemic, and we do need better education. And part of the green agenda is really about teaching children about organic growing and making that connection between the food they eat and how it's grown. And our children don't know. I watched an American program where there were some kids who said, I think it's really cruel, these people who kill these animals for food. I think it's really cruel. I don't understand why these people just don't go to the supermarket and buy it there. Literally, our children have lost the connection between where the food they eat, where it comes from, and they don't know about animals, they don't know about farming, they don't. So we do need to teach them about how these things happen, about organic growing. All these things are really important, and it's a big part of the. I haven't touched it today, but it's a big part of the Green Party agenda. They're really, really into that. You had a question, I'll go to the back here.
You said free school meals for all children. Is that from primary school, secondary school?
All the way through.
All the way
through. Yeah. Because you don't stop being poor when you get to 11.
Exactly.
You know, so, and it's possible. And I'll come to you in a minute. One of the things that I didn't mention is that our government is really mean-spirited. You don't like giving money to ordinary people. It cuts against the grain. So they have lots and lots of means testing. You have to jump through a lot of hurdles to get any benefit. They want to humiliate you to make sure that you're really dedicated to getting this benefit. And what they don't tell you is that process, the bureaucracy of that process, costs £6 billion a year. People will be shocked by this. The government spends £6 billion a year, not on the welfare state, not on giving you money, the process by which they give you money. Just on the form fillers, on the bureaucrats, on the computer systems. £6 billion a year wasted. Yeah? And the best benefits are the ones which are universal, because they don't cost anything. Because everybody's going to get it. So you don't need someone to sit and fill in 100 forms and spend 20 hours with somebody on a one-to-one interview, making sure they deserve it. And at the moment, they're trying to get people off disability benefit. So what are they doing? They're interviewing every single person and making their life a misery, saying, are you sure you're as disabled as you say you are? I know you're in a wheelchair and you can't move your right leg and your left arm, but surely you can do something with your right arm and your right leg to do the work. This is sort of it. I'm making fun of it, but it's so cruel. So cruel. In a country where we've got more billionaires than we've ever had. We've got more millionaires than we've ever had. They keep saying there's no money. There's loads of money. When it's in the bank accounts of millionaires and billionaires, it's not being given to ordinary people. Sorry, you had a question at the back?
I was just going back to when we were talking about education and food, about educating the youngsters today about food. We're hitting the wrong age group though. We need to re-educate the adults on budgeting a shop. Go back to old-fashioned cooks. A lot of, as I say it, the English generation, our parents, grandparents, could do a week shop on £60 and have money left over and food left over because one, aka mince, can make 6 different dishes. So for 2 kilos of mince, you have a week's worth of food. So what I'm saying is re-educate, bring in online activities, support group for these parents that are struggling on cooking, fast food, good option, no. Get in the kitchen, feed your kids correctly, yes, but also at the same time, you will be better in pocket.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we've got now, I sort of touched on this, is that our population has been hammered by our politicians. And what they've done is they've destroyed their confidence. And they've destroyed our communities. Think about all the things that keep communities together. Youth clubs, youth centres, centres. All of those things have closed. They've been shut down. Why are they shut down? Because the government's cut off the funding for it. So where are those parents going to learn that skill from? They've got nowhere now where they naturally come together in social groups. So part of what we've got to do is to re-establish local communities so that we get back to that area where, you know, the older generation are able to pass on their skills to the younger generation. That's broken down in our families, and we blame the individuals. It's not the fault of the individuals. The system has broken down. It's been deliberately destroyed. What they don't want is people to come together and organise. It suits the people in power for us not to be organised. It suits the system for us to be cynical and say we can't do anything. Because that keeps them in power. You know, there's a very small number of those rich people. Very small number. If ordinary people stood up against them, you get rid of them. But they control our thought process through the media. So we need things like your Jim, because you're not only working with the kids, you're working with the parents. Indirectly, you're working with the parents. But it's very difficult. You'll know as a private business, very difficult, because all the funding has disappeared. So you have to generate your own funding. And it's very difficult. You used to be able to get grants. You'd be able to get business startup grants, community service grants. You used to be able to get grants to do children's sports activities. I remember running a Saturday morning football club at Hyman Sports Centre for about 3 years. We got a grant for it. Sorry.
Yes, that's out the window.
Yeah. Ian?
Yeah, also I was on education. Surely it's better to invest in education to teach about green technologies and renewable and set up projects for like 5th and 6th formers to do green technology projects rather than it is to pursue a stupid national service policy for the 19-year-olds.
Yeah, I mean the national service is never going to happen. It was one of those things. At the moment, Rishi Sunak, he's got a group of advisors who say, what can I do? I'm going to lose massively. Come up with an idea that we can throw out there just to confuse the issue and get a few more people to vote for me. Absolutely, we can do more in school. One of the problems with schools, though, is people are putting more and more things at the school, things which are not their issue. And the curriculum is so full, there's no room for anything else. Because you're back to Ofsted. What are Ofsted going to look for? What are the government going to look for? So it's not about the children anymore, it's about tick boxes. So we need to get out of the mentality of tick boxes and get back to what's the purpose of education. The purpose of education is to prepare our children to be honest, to be decent, to have the skills for life, and to be able to manage their life and their family and have a good career. That's what it's for. It's not so you can tick 20 boxes for Ofsted. So we need to get out of that mentality where schools is to do with pleasing somebody else and get back to schools about the future of our children. And we really need to get in there and make that purpose of education really clear. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for that. Interesting questions. You guys have got quite a lot for me to think about there. So, what's next? So the next thing is, I need you guys to think about what you can volunteer for. Okay? And this is not like the normal volunteering, you're volunteering to your life away for the next 5 years. We're talking about 14 days? 14 days from tomorrow. 2 weeks. So think about what you can do to help us to get this message out there in the next 14 days. Okay? So as Wayne's slide said at the beginning, we're going out and about in different town centres. So if you can join us for one of those, come along, hold a banner, answer some questions, make some noise. We tried one the other day, it didn't work. And that's the other thing about a new campaign. You do some things and it won't be successful. It's okay. Nothing wrong with that. That's a normal part of learning as you go along. But we do definitely need to get the message out there. Ali?
Just a little message that whoever decides to go out and help and volunteer, they need to exactly know what questions they're going to get asked or how they want to answer them, because it's important for them to send the right message out, isn't it?
It is.
If somebody's asking you a question and you don't have an answer to it, it doesn't look good representing that party.
Yeah.
Or, so it's very important, whoever, inshallah, I think everybody in here is here for a good reason, and the reason is not just for ourselves, it's for the future for our kids.
Absolutely.
And the next generation that is coming up in the community. That's going to, the change is going to be for them. So it's very important that when we go out there and give the message, we give the right message so people can move forward and think that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm going to do today, okay, I'm going to distill all that. There's a slide that distills all the priorities into about 8 bullet points. Very simple. Yeah, it's already there. I've got it on my phone, so you've all got it on your phone somewhere. I'm going to redistribute that. The other thing that's worth saying is, when we go out and about, I'm always going to be there. And there's nothing wrong with you saying, hang on a minute, that's a really good question. I think you should ask the candidate that question, and then just call me over and say, this gentleman, this lady's got a question that she wants to ask you. And that does 2 things. One is, it shows that you're not going to give them excuse the bad language, you're going to give them a bad answer. Yeah? Rather than give them a bad answer, you say, I'm going to put you in touch with somebody that's going to give you the proper answer. So I'm not just making things up. But the other thing it does is it gets them to recognise me, recognise the candidate. So that's a good thing. So I'm going to be out there with you. So I'm not asking you to go out there by yourself. Of course, I want you to go out there and talk to your own friends and family by yourself. But even then, if you've got someone in your family who's quite influential that you want me to meet and answer some questions, well, I'll be there. Don't worry. I'm available. 24/7. Next 2 weeks I'm available. Okay, and I'll come and talk to them. And sometimes it's a short conversation. Sometimes it gets a bit long-winded. I spoke to a gentleman for ages yesterday who was convinced he wasn't going to vote, and by the end of it he said, okay, I'll think about it. That's the best I could get out of it. That's the best I could get out. And that took a 20-minute conversation, but he said, I'll think about it. Because he was saying you're all the same, and I said, look, I'm not the same as the people you're talking about. I don't care if you vote for me or not, but I'm different. And I know I'm different. That's why I'm here. Okay. So sometimes you have to have that conversation. But yeah, it's a good point. But the headlines you've heard today, yeah, the headlines. We're going to invest in education, invest in the National Health Service. We're going to be strong on Palestine. We're going to be strong on the cost of living. We're going to tax the super rich, and we're going to spend the money on ordinary people. That's the key messages. There's nothing complicated there. Those are really important messages because it shows that there's a different way. What the Labour and Tory are going to say is that there is no money. Keir Starmer is promising 5 more years of austerity. That's what he's promising. If you listen between the lines, he's saying, oh, we can't make any financial promises because there's no money. What does that mean? It means he's not making any commitments. He's not going to invest in the National Health Service. He's not going to invest in schools. He's not going to invest in the cost of living. He's not going to invest in anything. And he's been told, don't promise anything. So he's not promising anything. The only thing he's promising is, I'm not Rishi Sunak. And even that's a lie. He is Rishi Sunak. It's just a different algorithm. Rishi Sunak is one algorithm. Keir Starmer is a slightly different algorithm. But they're both there. They're both robots. None of them are prepared to do interviews with other party leaders.
You're forgetting Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage is entertainment. Yeah, he's not a politician. He's not going to win. He's entertainment. He knows. He's good at the one-liners. The media love him because that's what they want. They want a 30-second clip of someone being a buffoon, and he's good at that. That's his skill set. He's made himself a millionaire out of it, so you can't criticise him. He's made millions of pounds out of being an idiot. So how can you criticise him? You can't criticise him.
On that point, it's very important to remember Nigel Farage is a distraction for the public. Nothing more, nothing less. It's the rich people putting a convenient distraction in there saying, we're rich, don't blame us for anything. It's the policies, it's the immigrants, it's this, it's that. It's just a bogeyman. Ignore it. That's how you dismiss it.
I saw a really good thing today. I might send it on the group. It said, it was a little caption. It said, I spent 6 hours in A today. It was full of immigrants.
Yes.
And it said, an Asian doctor came and saw me, and then an African nurse bandaged my arm. You know, and the point is that the immigrants that they complain about, 40% of the workforce in the National Health Service is people from overseas. And if they weren't here, the National Health Service would be an even bigger mess than it is at the moment. But Zaid's right, you know, it's a long-standing strategy that whenever the economy is in a mess and they can't take responsibility for it, they have to blame somebody else. And you always blame, you find a scapegoat, that's what they call it, a scapegoat. You find a scapegoat, that's immigrants, that's Pakistanis, it's Muslims, it used to be the Jews, it used to be the Irish, it used to be the Gypsies. Everybody's had their turn. It was even the Poles for a few years while we were trying to get out of Europe. Some of you remember. Yeah, it's all the fault of the Poles. There's far too many Poles here. Far too many Romanians. But it's never the fault of the millionaires and billionaires who are really in charge. Never their fault. They never accept responsibility. Because once ordinary people realise that, then the whole world will be different. And as part of our message is that, you know, we need to realise who's really pulling the strings behind the scenes. And it's the millionaires and the billionaires, it's the lobby groups, it's the people who... And I always say, these people are hard-nosed businessmen. Why would they give £5 million to a political party for no gain? Would you give £5 million to a political party for no gain? Would you reckon? But they do. So there's, you know, they work on something for something. The politics is they give us something for nothing. No, they don't. No. Nobody gives you £5 million for nothing. It's something for something. They get something in return. They get special treatment. They get confidential information that allows them to make more money. And it's a big money-making scam. During COVID, one last thing before we finish. During COVID, the government abandoned all the normal rules. So I work in schools, I've worked in government. Normally, if you spend big money, you have to have a very long tendering process where people tender from all over and you find the cheapest price. In COVID, they said, oh, it's an emergency. So they scrapped the tendering process and they said, anybody can get a contract. And then they created a VIP lane. VIP lane. Very important people that we know, they can bid for these contracts. And they opened the VIP lane up to Tory politicians. And a woman called Michelle Mone, who was a Tory, she was in the House of Lords, Tory dame. Her and her husband got a £200 million contract for PPE equipment for hospitals. And that equipment was rubbish, it couldn't be used. Okay? Some investigators got all of that, it took them 2 years, and she was saying, no, this company's nothing to do with me, we don't have any connection with this. 2 years. After 2 years, the reporter found that £29 million had gone into one of her bank accounts. £29 million. Okay? So she was found out. And then she said, what I didn't say is that 2 years ago when I got this contract, I told the government that this company belongs to me and my husband. So they already knew about it. So I didn't break any laws, I already told them. And the government didn't say anything. And we still haven't got that money back. This country still hasn't got that £200 million back. And that woman's still not in prison, I don't think. I lost track of what happened to that rest of that case. Eventually they got to court. But the point is, that's just one example. The audit office said that during COVID, remember the audit office works for the government. Yeah? So it's not in their interest to build these figures. They said during COVID, at least £1 billion went missing in fraud and in corruption. Now, the people who understand these things saying, you're having a laugh. It's not 1 billion, it's lots of billions went missing during COVID. Lots of billions. Well, it's jobs for the boys. This is them legally giving money to themselves. Legally. We talk about banana republics. These countries, oh yeah, they're the banana republics. They're giving money out left, right, centre to the ministers. Here they are, ministers legally giving money to each other. Imagine you saying to your fellow Tory MPs, come and bid for £20 million worth of PPE. Michelle Moore and her husband had never had 1 second of experience in PPE. Never. Never even bought one, never mind sold one. They had zero experience. They set up a company 7 days before they bid for that, before they bid for the 200 million, and they were given the 200 million. There you go, 200 million quid. Off you go. This is what we are dealing with. When we say the corruption of the system, this is what we are dealing with. These are the people who are running our country. They are corrupt to the core. They're financially corrupt, they're morally corrupt, they're politically corrupt. They haven't got an honest bone in their body. They tell lies for fun. And there was a time when the media used to challenge them on those lies. That time's gone. Now the media play along. And these things happen. It was an emergency. Yeah, really? You give a £200 million contract to someone that's never done that business before, and you say, well, it was an emergency. Why would you do that? So this is what we're living through. We're living in a time. Wait.
Can I invite you to invite somebody to speak?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad you did. Ladies and gentlemen, Shabir, Councillor Shabir. Thank you. Well done. I don't know about you, but when he gets to the House of Commons, how are they going to shut him up? Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But you only get 5 minutes in the House of Commons, and literally everybody has been here tonight, and you've given up your time to be here. And honestly, Shabir, we haven't heard you speak like this for a long time. I think it was last Wednesday. But it's very important that those messages get out, because tonight you're here for a reason. And we're here to support Shabir. We're here to help him, and we're helping him to get as many votes as he can in Hyndburn and Accrington. And thank you, Cammy, for helping on the ground, for giving up your time as well being here, because we're going to need you. I used to work at Bunter's Bistro on Regent Street in Haslington, a very important part of our election. Now, put your hands up, ladies and gentlemen, if you're here for a reason. Put your hand up if you're actually here to help. And this is the important points of tonight. This is the reason you're here. Speeches are great, but more importantly, what are we going to do with this final 14 days? We've got to make as much impact as possible, and what we've done is literally plan out the next 3 weeks, and it is 3 weeks because you've got 3 days of the final week, and then you've got the polling day, and then you've got the time at the town hall, and we want to know who wants to be at the town hall. We want to know who wants to come to the hustlings on Friday, which is the Chamber of Trade, because if you've got a business and you're in the Chamber of Trade, or you'd like to be there watching Shabir tackle the two Sarahs and Richard Oakley and the Liberal Democrat, would like you to be there to offer your support. But more importantly, it's what you know, who you know, and it's your areas that are really important. So what we'd really like today is we'd like to know who can come out on what days, because we've put a plan together. Put your hand up if you're in the WhatsApp group. It's the campaign group. Ladies, I'm so surprised at you. Have you not got WhatsApp? Well, we would love you to be there, and we've got it on here, and I'll tell you why. Because this is where we put all our information. And this is where our call to action will be. This is where we're going to say where we're going to be on the particular days over the next 3 weeks. We start tomorrow, and we've got a plan of where we'll be. I've actually already put on the group, but I don't think I've got Wi-Fi. So I've put on the group the plan or the presentation here tonight. This is more important. The issues that we face today and what we've had over the last 15 years, if not the 25 years, if not the 45 years, is a disregard for what you think and what you believe. We've been taken for granted while Labour and Conservative, and I voted for Labour and I voted for Conservative and I voted for Reform, because they've hookwinked us all into voting for them, believing they're going to change and they never have. Well, now you can see the devices exactly where we disagree. And we disagree on Palestine, and we disagree on human rights, and we disagree on education, and we disagree on so many other areas where they're wasting our money and giving it all to friends. Well, if you really want to make a difference, your energy, your attitude, your positiveness can make a difference, because all it takes is an hour or an hour and a half each evening. I'd love to see you all out every night, because imagine the impression you're going to make out on the doorstep. So people go, wow, there's a posse out there, they'll all probably all run from you. But equally, it's going to be visible. It's going to be visible that the Green Party has arrived and you can make a difference and you can make a change. It is you that's going to win this election, not Shabir. He might be the person representing us, but at the end of the day, it's you and your hard work that's going to get him elected. So if you all think that the next week's going to go by and we're all sat at home, nothing's going to happen. And Shabir will get 2,000, 3,000 votes. But if we can get out there and be visible, and if we can use this time very, very carefully, if we can choose our time and get out every evening and perhaps some afternoons, we can go around to all the different wards. We cannot knock on 45,000 doors, it's impossible. But what we can do is target, we've got the electoral roll, we can target certain names, and we can be visible. We can use this time as an opportunity to take photographs, give them to Lex, who's our digital campaign manager. She'll get it out on Facebook. And for everybody else in Hyndburn who are getting all these boosts, they're going to see that we're out and about and we're visible. The local elections were a significant change in this town, from getting 129 votes in 2017. We got 800 votes at the last general election. We've got to target a lot more than that. It is potentially possible to win, but we've left it for the last 3 weeks. If you get out visibly and you're there in the wards for the next 3 weeks, if you can commit to half of the time, I don't know, we're going to asking you to commit and actually say when you can be there. It's no good just saying, well, are you free, are you not free? Are you free in the evenings for the next 2 weeks? Because if you are, together as a team, and this is the thing here, as a team we can make a difference. We were 7 people the other night, and it was Eid, so it was the wrong time to really go out, but it was lovely. An opportunity for Councillor Shabir to get some fresh air and to think things through about what strategy is going to work. The only strategy that's going to work is you. Whether you can come out with us as a team, or whether you've got your own ideas. Now, we think that being visible and getting out there is a way to be seen and to influence people. And obviously your passion and how inspired you are will also make a difference, because that's contagious and it will get other people interested as well. But in addition to that, what we haven't asked you, ladies and gentlemen, is what ideas do you have to make this even more visible? What ideas do you have, other than what we've got in this plan, do you have for being more visible? Is there anything else that we should be doing at this time for getting out there and being seen? Is there anything that you could do without us being involved? My colleague over here, would you come to the front? You have volunteered your time, and we sincerely, you're not a member of the Green Party yet, but you are a member of the human race, and you've seen what we're trying to do here. What else can we do as a team to get out there and be visible? Are you leaving us, Sarah? I think we're going to call you Princess. Are you going to come out tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
Have you? Right, okay. So what we want you to do, if you're coming out tomorrow, we'd like you to send a message on the WhatsApp group every day, if you're on it. And if you're not on it, then somehow you've got to get a message to the leaders and tell us you're going to be there every day, so we can give you a meeting point of where we're going to be. Can that be a start? Equally, so if you haven't got it already, if you haven't joined, it's here. It's also in the document. But equally, there's my contact details. If you want to contact me, I'm on the WhatsApp group, but you can equally contact me and let me know you're going to be there. All I want to do over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're going to speak up and tell me what you're saying, because I'm there, is just help Councillor Shabir get as many votes as he can, and that's really all we want to talk about tonight. Does anybody, you've got a question?
What I was going to suggest is when we go out, we've got some t-shirts like what we're wearing, so to make it even more visible, whoever wants to keep them, if they want to make a donation towards it, that's fine.
£100 donation,
Just, you know,
much appreciated.
get them all on, there's no point having them in the bag.
Maximum 15 quid, that's what
You
it
can
is.
tell I used to be a Conservative, £100 or £15 for a t-shirt, and we got some hoodies coming for the next one. So, ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Councillor Shabir. And as I say, Sammy, have you got anything you want to add?
The only thing which I want to add is what I have noted since I joined the Green Party.
Come in and speak a bit louder, because they're rustling bags and I'm deaf.
The one thing which I have noted from when I joined the Green Party is that the Green Party is the only party which actually provides you with hope. You look at the other parties now, what's left in them? Lies after lies after lies, promises which they don't intend to keep. The Green Party, from one aspect of it all the way to the other, gives you hope. We look at these children. What future do they have with a Tory leadership? We've had 14 years of Tories. The country as a whole has got worse. What's Labour going to do? Labour will spend the next 5 to 10 years rebuilding the mistakes which the Tories have made. The country won't get better. The Green Party is the only party which actually will make Britain better. It will provide hope. Let's all help Shabir. Let's do everything that we can. Let's be seen, let's be heard. Let's go Greens.
Brilliant. Kelly? Can we just finally just thank you all for being here tonight, and if you've got anything from tonight, just please share. Share everything you've got. Would you like to add some words?
Can I just suggest I brought some along, some of our lady helpers, if they would like a green scarf or maybe something green to wear, as well as our let's see. Yeah, rosettes.
Green for
Yeah,
green
they're
fighting.
in quite short supply, I think.
Sorry,
I think we have 30 or so.
But,
And I think they've just disappeared.
I have some. If we need any more, I can go and see get some more. So if you would like a scarf, you haven't got a green scarf, there is some here.
Fantastic, thank you. Shabir, I'll back over to you.
Okay, so we've got some goodies to give out. So we've got stickers for your bumper. We want people who are driving. That's one of the ways we're going to get them out there. We're just going to check whether taxi drivers are allowed to put it on, because it might be against the licensing rules. We just need to. I don't want to get you into trouble. We've got different posters. So if you want to stick a poster in your window, you choose which one you want. They'll take more than one. If you've got a shop, or you know someone who's got a shop that's visible, and you think they'll put a poster up, take one of those. We've got some big banners, massive banners like that one. We've got 6 of those. So if you know someone, or it's you personally, who's got a big fence and it's very visible, it's no good in a cul-de-sac. Yeah. We've only got 6 of those, so we want to put them up places where hundreds of people are going to see it. So if you know a place like that and there's somewhere to hang it, then come and talk to us and we will go and hang it. As long as we've got permission, we can't just go and hang it in random places. We need permission of the owner, then we've got those.
How will that go up?
Yeah, so they've got the eyelets, and you use ties to tie it to a fence or something.
Because I've got a blank wall at a roundabout on a corner.
Yeah.
So
We'll find somewhere fixing it up.
We'll have a
It's a
look.
good visible wall.
Joan, do you have something to
I just want to say,
Sorry,
these
1 minute.
These times, we have all the times for the next week of the meetings. But what we haven't identified is just where. 2 o'clock Saturday, 6:30 Thursday, these sort of times. And I think before we go tonight, we just need to clarify just where we're going to meet at those times. Just that one starting point. We're going to all meet there and then go from there.
So,
But it'll be different for every day.
The one action that will help with that is that today, everybody who's here, we just need to make sure you're on one of the groups.
Yeah.
So that we've got a way of telling you where we're going to be in advance. Most people have got access to mobile phones these days. If you're on a Green Party Hindburn group, or you're on the campaign WhatsApp group, or the Hindburn Green Party WhatsApp group, then through that we can get to everybody quickly. Okay? Rather than keeping everybody out even longer.
Yeah.
One thing I also want to mention as well, there's a few of us that have been in that situation before where we're a bit shy about meeting members of the public or talking to strangers. You don't need to do that. Just talk to your friends, your social circles, your groups, get the word out. One person can impact 10 people. Those 10 people can impact 100 people. So just do whatever you can in your power.
If you're out and about carrying one of these, that's enough. Yeah? Because there'll be 4 or 5 of us who can talk. You know, you've heard me, got no trouble talking. Yeah, sometimes it's trouble shutting me up, but it's no trouble talking. Same with Wayne, same with Zeddy, same with Tanny, same with some of my boys, so, and Cammy, you know, we can all talk. But we need numbers, because people are impressed when they see enough people to say this is not a one-man band. You know, there's enough people here to show that it's a serious movement. And not everybody can get out. Yeah? Some people, you have to work on your computer, work on your friends, work on the phone. You know, just ring people up and say, are you registered? Yeah? I know you've got a postal vote. Have you sent it off? It's little things like that that will make a big difference. Okay, so please don't forget, if you want posters, take some posters. Don't be frightened. We got more. We need more, we can buy more. Thank you.